So welcome everyone to the Oxford Polar Forum seminar series. The objective of this forum is to foster polar discussion within the University of Oxford and to both showcase University of Oxford polar research and polar research in general ongoing globally. So this spring series, we're gonna focus our seminar series, which is gonna be about 8 weeks long, with a break in between for Easter, on researching the Russian Arctic and the possibilities for cooperation between Russian research institutions and UK institutions. This is gonna be a mixture of talks by Russian researchers who are gonna both show us their ongoing research, but also their initiatives to enhance international collaboration, and by UK-based or UK researchers who do research in the Russian Arctic. So this is the general introduction to this seminar series, and in particular for this seminar, we're very happy to have a series of speakers from the Northern Arctic Federal University. The short name for it's NarFU, based in Arkhangelsk, in the Murmansk area of northwestern Russia, and we're going to have the seminar will be led and will start by Dr. Marina Kalinina, who's advisor to the rector at NarFU and also vice president on interregional cooperation at the University of the Arctic. The title of the seminar is Current Agenda of the Russian Arctic Development, and this seminar is going to be split into 4 consecutive shorter talks by colleagues at NarFU. So I'm sure you didn't sign in to listen to me for too long. So I will give the word to Marina Kalinina, who's now speaking from Arkhangelsk. And I think that apart from giving you the voice, I should allow you to share the screen so that you can start. Thank you, Marina, and colleagues for having agreed on giving this seminar today.
Thank you very much, Mark, for your introduction. I would like to express my appreciation for the invitation to participate in this event from myself and my colleagues. And I also want to thank the UK Science and Innovation Network, the UK Embassy in Moscow, and Tatiana in person for introducing us to each other. We are greeting you from the north of Russia, from Arkhangelsk, the town that is located on the White Sea coast, in the area which is a part of the Arctic zone of the Russian Federation. And the overall topic of our talk today is the Russian Arctic from different perspectives, including international cooperation in research and education in the region, Arctic strategy and policy, and projects related to environment, biomonitoring, and energy solutions. In my part of the talk, I would like to draw your attention to development of international cooperation in research and education in the northern regions.
I give up.
Challenges we meet. I will also introduce you the tools we use to develop cross-border cooperation, and we'll tell about some of the outcomes. Is it possible to start my presentation? PowerPoint? For the last, it was the first slide we missed, but it was the picture of old Arkhangelsk. For the last 3 decades, higher educational institutions in the Arkhangelsk and in the Northwest Russia in general have been involved in the cooperation in the Barents Euro-Arctic region within the Northern Dimension area and with the universities of the Arctic Council states. And the basis for cooperation in all the three platforms is not only a political frame where states or regions are connected by political agreements, but common challenges that people who live in the North have to tackle on everyday basis. And this is actually what settled the education and research agenda in the region. And this is what makes international cooperation in the North meaningful and vital. Turn on the slide. Yeah, sorry. In a circumpolar cooperation in a broad context, the University of the Arctic is a major tool. Arctic was an initiative born out of the context of the Arctic Council and was endorsed by the Ministers of Foreign Affairs of the Arctic countries through the Iqaluit Declaration in 1998. In the joint ministerial statement on the occasion of the 20th anniversary of the Arctic Council, it was emphasized that establishment of the University of the Arctic was one of the achievements of the Arctic Council in the creation of institutions for regional cooperation and interaction in the Arctic. The Barents Euro-Arctic region was launched in 1993 on two levels: Intergovernmental Barents Euro-Arctic Council and Interregional Barents Regional Council. The overall objective of the Barents cooperation is sustainable development of the North. In terms of education and research, the Barents cooperation is characterized by very close ties between universities, by strong research networks, and by academic mobility programs. And an advantage of the Barents cooperation is people-to-people, or how we call it, grassroots cooperation. The Northern Dimension Institute is an important part of the Northern Dimension area. The NDI is a network of universities with the goal to facilitate research and provide expertise for the four Northern Dimension partnership in environment, health and well-being, transport and logistics, and culture. Within the Northern Dimension Institute, international groups of researchers conduct a unique intellectual contribution and disseminate research results for evidence-based decision-making for the whole Northern Dimension area. At the NDI, can you see?
Here we are. Yeah, now we can see. Sorry, I think we lost you for about 30 seconds or so.
Okay, so I stopped with agreement on enhancing international Arctic scientific cooperation. In 2019, the University of the Arctic conducted a survey and made a report to analyze scientific cooperation within the Arctic. The report was called Understanding the Bottlenecks in Cross-Border Research. And the survey focused on understanding challenges, gaps, as well as positive practices programs in the Arctic, and how to better include non-Arctic states in Arctic research. Obtaining visas and ability to physically cross borders to do research in the Arctic was also mentioned as problematic between some countries, and some respondents emphasized the lack of logistical support when tried to do research in remote areas in the Arctic. The role of institutions to develop international cooperation in the Arctic in education and research is substantial, and this role will be growing in the years to come. The University of the Arctic
looks like we're having some connectivity problems with Arkhangelsk. The sound is breaking.
North in Chukotka, Taimyr, and Nenets Autonomous Region. And we also have that more member applications will be received and approved by Arctic Assembly later this spring. A core element of University of the Arctic is work across disciplines. This is actually a flexible framework to develop circumpolar education and Arctic research, and to search for multidisciplinary solutions to better understand the changes that occur in the Arctic region. The variety of research tasks is broad. This is about climate justice, human adaptation, safety and preparedness, permafrost melting, health and well-being, plastic pollution, art and design, and many, many others. It's easily to find information, more information about the Arctic thematic networks on the website with the projects run by thematic networks and also contact details. Disseminate research results to foster evidence-based decision-making is in the region is another very important task for University of the Arctic and the Arctic thematic networks. Here you can find some of the outcomes. The thematic network on Arctic safety and security provides expertise for EPPR, Emergency Prevention, Preparedness and Response Working Group, and the PAIM, Protection of Arctic Marine Environment Working Groups of the Arctic Council. Thematic network on Arctic plastic pollution is working currently to create Arctic regional Arctic marine environment plan. And NarFU is currently a partner within the project with this thematic network on Arctic plastic pollution. The project is titled Barents Sea Leadership Training on Marine Litter. We will conduct a round of webinars later this spring to invite different stakeholders to raise awareness on the problems of marine litter in the area of the Barents Sea. Thematic network on teacher education, social justice and diversity in education was a driver of two big projects under the auspices of the Sustainable Development Working Group within Finland's chairmanship in the Arctic Council. During the Russian chairmanship program, one of the projects supported by the Sustainable Development Working Group will be running by the thematic network on human adaptation in the changing Arctic. And the project theme is digitalization of linguistic and cultural heritage of indigenous people in the Arctic. And in conclusion, on my part, you know that Russia is approaching its chairmanship program of the Arctic Council to hand it over Iceland in May, later this spring in Reykjavik, when the ministerial meeting will take place. And sustainable development will be a key focus of the Russian chairmanship program with the priorities of human dimension, environment, and sustainable economic growth. The whole program will be announced for public during the ministerial meeting. We have launched preparation of University of the Arctic Congress to be held in October 2022 in Moscow, with the Moscow State University as a host. And the scientific part of the Congress will be devoted to Russia's chairmanship priorities in the Arctic Council. In March 20 and 22, the Arctic Council Model Arctic Council Youth Conference will take place in Arkhangelsk in conjunction with the Senior Arctic Officials meeting. And it's also worth to mention that my home university, NarFU, will be a co-lead of the Sustainable Development Working Group project, Arctic Food Innovation Cluster within the Russian chairmanship program. We expect the Russian chairmanship program provide plenty of opportunities for the Arctic research community to meet and to talk about rapid changes in the Arctic region. And I hope that such kind of a dialogue will help all us to keep the Arctic region as the area of peace and cooperation. Here on I have to finish my part of the presentation and to give the floor to my colleagues. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Marina. We had every now and then some sound breaking, but it ended much better than it was going in the middle. So overall we got the message. So if I understand it now, our next speaker is Dr. Tatiana Sorokina. So let's move into Dr. Sorokina's talk now.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for this invitation to participate in this meeting today. It's a great honor for me to present our work during this forum. I will tell a couple of words about Arctic Biomonitoring Laboratory, which was established in 2017 in NarFU. We have won a grant of government of the Russian Federation to fulfill the works on Arctic biomonitoring, biological monitoring. The name of this project was very big. You can see it on slide, but our main goal was to establish a national system of biological monitoring in the Russian Arctic. As you have, I guess you have heard about the Stockholm Convention on Persistent Organic Pollutants, which has prohibited some of the compounds which are very harmful for human health. And AMAP initiative is a working group of the Arctic Council, Arctic Monitoring and Assessment Program. They have conducted some research in 90s and the beginning of 21st century, and they have detected these compounds in human blood of people living in the Arctic. And they have also detected some of these compounds in the migratory species of birds and animals which were consumed by these local residents. So our main goal was to establish constant monitoring program and to start doing this research ourselves here in Russia. Here you can see the list of these compounds which we are working with and equipment that we possess now. But our main basic principle of our work is One Health approach, because these biomonitoring works is an correlation between environmental monitoring and human health monitoring. So I have copy-paste this definition of One Health approach from the website of World Health Organization, and you can see that One Health is an approach to designing and implementing programs, policies, legislation, and research in which multiple sectors communicate and work together to achieve better public health outcomes. So our main principle of work, our main approach that we use is interdisciplinary. Here on the next slide, you can see just a small amount of our laboratory team. And you can see here that we have gathered together analytical chemists, specialists in public health, specialists in biology and ecology, and even specialists in legal sciences to work together on the same topic, on the same problem. So we are doing biological monitoring not only by doing chemical analysis, but also conducting many other works. Here you can see that in the very beginning in 2017, we had nothing. So we have started from zero. We had just empty spaces, empty rooms. And now, as 4 years have passed, we have managed to establish a very well-equipped laboratory, and we have trained a lot of competencies which help us to do this work. So here on the slide, you can see a map of the Russian Federation, and you can see Nenets area marked with pink and Chukotsky region marked with green. These were the first Russian Arctic territories that we worked in. We went there on expeditions. We collected blood samples, urine samples of people living in these remote places. we have collected fish species and birds which they consume. And afterwards, we brought all these samples to our laboratory and made a chemical analysis and tried to identify the risks, existing risks to human health. But we have widened our geography of work, and here you can see a map that we have borrowed from AMAP website. And you can see that these points marked with pink is points where AMAP group have been working before. And points marked with blue is points that settlements where we have worked from 2017. So we fulfilled the huge gaps on this map because there was not enough information about the Russian Arctic by the time that when we started. So every time we go on expeditions, we observe the territory, we communicate with local people, conduct questionnaires, take samples of human biological samples and samples of fish and birds. In some areas, we have already collected some water samples and bottom sediments. Then we conduct chemical analysis, and this year we have started metagenomic analysis. So a lot of different types of work that we conduct. And talking about our main findings, we can say some good news. We have detected relatively low content of inorganic pollutants in Arctic fish. And we have found some low concentrations of PCBs, but the good news again that they are decreasing. Since the last investigation, which was held by AMAP group, we detected at least 10 times lower concentrations of PCBs in Arctic fish. As for human health, we found that consumption of marine fish can increase the arsenic content in the human blood. We also found some cadmium in blood of smokers and lead in blood of hunters because they produce bullets themselves in the traditional way. We also found some very small concentrations of persistent organic pollutants in human blood of Arctic residents. But at the same time, here we see this decreasing of POPs in blood again, like in fish. So now we can say that Stockholm Convention, which was adopted 20 years ago, is effective. So these contaminants are going away. And one of our main findings was that in addition to toxicants, human health in the Arctic is significantly affected by deficiency of essential elements such as iodine and ferrum. We found extremely low concentrations of these vital elements in the blood of local residents, and they live with this, not knowing about the risks they have. Our plans, future plans, is to continue working with these biological monitoring works, to do them in more remote places, not only in the western and eastern part of the Arctic, but also in the central part of the Russian Arctic. And then our findings made us to start new sub-projects. For example, we have found out that selected samples of Arctic birds can be useful to determine infections that are brought to the Arctic from other places. So we have started the metagenomic analysis to find these infections. We also have found some microplastic in the waters of the White Sea. So this year we're starting works of searching for microplastic in fish and birds that we have collected. And these findings about human health effects of deficiencies, including effects on mental health, made us start a new project together with psychologists to identify the risks to mental health connected with the deficiencies of vitamins such as vitamin B and vitamin D. And as a concluding remarks, I just want to say that we have obtained some unique competences altogether. Our chemists and biologists and public health specialists and even lawyers were all together and know how to do sampling, how to do sample preparation for the chemical analysis. We even established some our own methodology to do the chemical analysis of various biological samples. We also know how to conduct expeditions to remote areas, how to organize them, and we also got this ability to read and understand laws and regulations, which is not ordinary for specialists in natural sciences. And we've got these unique interdisciplinary communication skills, which allow us to not only to proceed working with biological monitoring, but also to start new initiatives together with other specialists. And here on this last slide, you can see some contact information and our website. And there you can find our publications in English and also a small video, 7 minutes video about our laboratory if I have missed something during my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tatiana. I'm a bit scared of asking the Moscow crew to share their screen. I hope this time it works. I wonder if we have a plan B, if it couldn't work, does NarFU have your PowerPoint, or are we really? Let's try it. And
it will work, no problem. It will work now, no problem.
Yes.
Oh, really? Oh, I like the spirit. All right, good. So please, Pavel or Alexander, whoever is first, please go ahead and share your screen.
Okay. Yes. 1 moment.
Okay, actually, the idea of my first talk was to give you a very brief introduction to the Russian Arctic as the object of study and the object of governance, because maybe not every one of these are really well acquainted. So can you see the presentation and hear me? Good, that's really good. Okay, my second talk will be dedicated to the expeditions, but the first talk will be more an introductory one. Actually, the Arctic and the Russian Arctic is a very complex object, and I suggest to start first from the definition and the concepts of the boundaries, because the approaches are really different. As you probably know as natural scientists, that there are different criteria of defining the Arctic itself, and even there are several approaches in the nature criteria. One of them is the most obvious and connected with the polar circle. However, as you can clearly see on the slide, that natural conditions are really much differ if we take this concept. Another more sophisticated concepts are connected with the tree line or July isotherm 10 degrees. And these approaches are mostly used in natural sciences and, for example, in conservation of Arctic flora fauna or Arctic monitoring assessment program in the Arctic Council. The second approach is to determine Arctic from the point of international law. And if we take the agreements international, which were adopted in the auspices of the Arctic Council. You will see, for example, as on the slide, the agreement on the cooperation on the aeronautical and maritime search and rescue in the Arctic, that the regions of the search and rescue really differ. However, this international agreement is dedicated to the Arctic. And the third group of criteria, which is more interested for us in this case, is the national boundaries according to the national law in the Arctic. If we speak about the Russian Arctic, there are two main concepts which could define the Arctic region in Russia. The first one is the Arctic zone of the Russian Federation. This concept is quite new. It was introduced in 2013, and you can see it on the map. It includes 9 regions, which are fully or partly included in the Russian Arctic zone, from Murmansk to Chukotka, from west to eastern part. And the practical implications of this approach are connected mostly with the special investment regime. Only during the last year, there was a special law adopted on the support of the entrepreneurship in the Arctic zone of the Russian Federation. Okay, can you hear us and see? Good. Okay, I hope you have heard about the Arctic zone of the Russian Federation as a concept in the administrative law practice, and the second one, concept which is quite old one, is the concept of the extreme north, which is actually also used in the judicial practice in Russia. So the concept of extreme north, it appeared in 1930s, when the significance of the Arctic became much bigger in the national politics of the Soviet Union. And in modern terms, this extreme north concept was upgraded in 1960s, which actually was connected with the dissolution of Gulag system and the discovery of big oil and gas provinces in the Western Siberia. And in order to supply these big extraction of resources projects, there was a special regime of social bonuses created, connected with the extreme north, and it exists until today, and it implies extra grade of payment, extra vacation, and extra retirement benefits for people. Actually, it worked much better during the Soviet Union times, because there was a single wage tariff acting on the whole territory of Soviet Union. And now this, during the market economy times, this concept not working as good as it used to work in the Soviet times, but still many people are going to work in the north because of these high wages. Now, several words about the current strategy of the Russian Arctic. I gave a brief overview of the Arctic policy approaches, and as you can see on this short graph, that during the Soviet times, the reasons for the Arctic development were mostly connected with different strategic military considerations and aims of social-oriented policy, while in the 1990s, when the social and economic system in Russia changed totally, so the attitude to the Arctic policy also changed totally, and the Arctic wasn't regarded as a special object of governance and mostly economic considerations. So the profits which could be given by the Arctic projects was regarded as the most relevant reason. The situation differs much, I think, quite much, since from 2008 we have quite a complex and comprehensive Arctic policy, and the Arctic came back to the Russian national discourse. And the current document, which defines the Russian politics in the Arctic, is called the Development Strategy for the Arctic Zone of the Russian Federation and Ensuring National Policy until 2035. It's quite a fresh document, adopted just in the autumn of last year. You can see on the slide also the main priorities of this document, and you see that they're quite comprehensive, from sovereignty and net territorial integrity till the environment and indigenous peoples. This is quite understandable, since the Arctic for Russia has quite a, I would say, bigger national importance than for other states. And we say not only about the fact that Russia has the biggest population living in the Arctic from all the other countries. This is around 2.5 million people, but also because of the significance from the different point of views. The first one is, of course, the economic point of view. The Arctic for Russia and for Soviet Union was always as a storage of resources. And here you can see the map of the oil and gas provinces in the in Russia, and as you see that the northern regions, especially the Western Siberia, is extremely rich with oil and gas fields, and even now more than 80% of natural gas and 70% of oil in Russia is extracted in the Arctic zone. And if we take a slightly southern Khanty-Mansiysk region, then it will be around 65% of oil extracted in the Russian Arctic. And if you see the budget of the Russian Federation, you will see that around 40% of income of the state budget is fulfilled by the oil and gas industry. Also, the undiscovered oil fields are supposed to be quite rich in the Russian Arctic, especially on the continental shelf, but it's a separate topic actually. Not only oil and gas, but the other non-hydrocarbon resources is the reason for significance of the Arctic for Russia. Almost 100% of diamonds, for example, and platinum of all Russian deposits could be found in the Arctic. On the picture, you could see, for example, the diamond mines not far from Arkhangelsk region. However, they are not the biggest one in the Russia. For example, in Yakutia is the main Arctic region and the main diamond region in Russia. I would mention here also nickel, cobalt, copper, rare earth minerals, and gold, which are also extracted or potentially could be extracted in the Russian north. What is on the top of the global agenda is, of course, the climate change and environment. And it is, for Russia, it's not the issue of only the research. It's climate change really influences the Russian infrastructure in the north, as you could see that there's a lot of infrastructure connected with the oil and gas extraction and pipelines, and quite a lot of cities and towns were built on the permafrost times. And the current climate change and the permafrost thawing gives quite a serious threats to this infrastructure. So it's actually an issue of billions of rubles. And of course, the environmental stuff issues, they became really important for last year, especially when there was a big diesel oil spill near the Norilsk, done by the company of Norilsk Nickel. and it's a question, of course, of the population health and, of course, of the global reputation of these companies. And it's not a matter of surprise that the environment has quite a huge place in the current Russian strategy. Other things which are to be mentioned, of course, the Northern Sea route, which is really increasing and developing for the last years, and the turnover, of course, will most probably increase because of the increase in the extraction of oil and gas and other and other resources, and of course the development of liquefied natural gas production has really increased the turnover of the Northern Sea route. Don't forget that the Arctic has a big military importance for Russia, because the Northern Fleet, the strategic command with nuclear weapons, is situated in the Murmansk region, which is also actually the Arctic, and of course it has a really big importance, since the Arctic is one of the few Russian exits to the global ocean. And the final map for this talk is the map of indigenous peoples. And as you can clearly see, that the Arctic is the place of inhabited of many groups of, if I'm not mistaken, 19 groups of indigenous peoples, which cover the vast territory. And of course, there is a number of issues connected with their development, but I could talk about this if you ask the question. I think that my time ran out for this time. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. I'm happy that we finally were able to go through the presentation despite the technical challenges. We have one talk left. It's a bit late in kind of the timing that we had allocated, but I wouldn't want to just not have it. But if I could ask for brevity to our next speaker, and then we would have some time for questions before before the end of the event, that would be great.
Yes.
And please, if you can introduce yourself, since I repeat, I only introduced Marina Kalinina at the beginning, so it would be great. Please, Pavel, if you can introduce yourself briefly.
Yes, thank you very much. So my name is Pavel Mariandyshev. Can you see my presentation? Yes.
Yes.
So, honorable colleagues, distinguished guests, dear students. So, I'm from the Northern Arctic Federal University. I'm taking the position of the first vice rector now, and a professor of the Department of Power Engineering, and I'm dealing with the alternative energy sources, energy efficiency, and energy management. And I will give you a brief overview of the potential of the energy resources that are being under investigation at our university and are being widely spread in the Arctic. So if we look into the wind potential of Russia, you can see that the main wind rates are at the north. And the highest wind rate, you can see that more than 10 meters per second is in the Russian Arctic, in the Arctic zone of the Russian Federation. So the main places of the building and introducing the windmills and wind energy power plants are in the cold climate and in the high north in the Russian Arctic. And the average wind rate at least is from 8 till 12 meters per second, and the economically available is only 4 meters per second. So we have a very, very high potential. With sun is not so good. In the Russian Arctic, we have very, very dark winter nights, but we have white nights in summer. So there should be a potential, and we do a lot of research how to increase the photovoltaic elements in the high north and how to introduce and how to deal with icing and how to increase the efficiency of the solar elements, photovoltaic elements, and solar collectors. If we talk about our region, about the Arkhangelsk region, so wood resource balance is of great potential. We have a huge production of high calorific fuels such as wood pellets and wood briquettes, and we have more than 400,000 tons of the produced fuel in our region, and it can be easily transported and be utilized in with a high efficiency. And here we work on modeling of this combustion process and modeling of the boilers equipment and how to increase the efficiency of the boiler performance using the high calorific wood fuel. And here we're doing is also the ecological aspect. We also do the modeling of the COx emissions, NOx emissions, transborder black carbon transmission, the CO2 concentration into the surface of the furnace, and everything that is dealing with the combustion of high calorific solid fuels. And also we talk about wood pellets and wood briquettes now. If we talk about wind and solar energy, so we mainly deal with the wind and solar energy assessment. We build the wind maps, we build the solar maps, we make the calculation of the potential of these resources. And on the picture in the right corner, you can see our laboratory that the lightning system is being supplied from the wind generator and the solar PV elements. So it is even in the high north. So we are also doing the mirror systems, how to increase the solar energy potential in high north, and especially in winter times when we have a lot of cloudy, dark nights and a lot of darkness during the day. And we also, for the Arctic, we develop a mobile small solar power station that has also the PV and mirror system elements and also the accumulator. And this system can be used also for the distinguished energy supply of lightning system for the ships and also for the special equipment for the radio locators, etc. If we talk about the wind, so we do the wind resource assessment during the winter season, during the summer season, and we build the wind roses, model the windmills, how they will produce the amount of energy during the year. We build the maps, and we do the deep research of the territory, especially for the high north, and how to introduce the windmills at the territory. And here you can see also some results. We make the simulation for the Solovetsky archipelago. It is a UNESCO heritage monument, and we make the wind resource assessment and even make the models of the wind power station, and also put on the terrain the windmills and model the each year production of it. Another huge point is the icing. The icing is of great interest because icing is a huge barrier to introduce the windmills in the North Territories, and the icing on wind blades, development of the hydrophobic coatings, the modeling the performance of the aerodynamics, and also the icing simulations for the high north is extremely important. And here is also our sphere of expertise. And so this was briefly what I was giving an overview of the energy in the Arctic, and I will be very glad to answer all the questions, and it's my honor to be here. Sorry for these technical missings, but hopefully everything works very well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pavel. That was definitely fast, and thank you for basically we are back on time, I would say, and finally things worked. We have been recording this, and I will edit the parts where things didn't work, so we will have kind of a neat video with all the content that we were planning on having. I asked our listeners whether they had any questions. There was There has been a question which has been answered by Maria Danz to Tatiana. I don't know if you want to. We can actually, yeah. I don't know if you wanna, if you Maria want to basically share it with the rest, and then Tatiana can also reply to it, not in written form, but in speaking.
Yeah.
Maria.
So I asked about the bioaccumulation up trophic levels up the food chain, and if there was any work being done at the top level. Obviously humans are at the top as well, but it was really well answered. Yeah.
Yes, thank you for your question. During our work, we were focused on nutrition issues. So that's why we have collected only samples of fish and birds and gray whales from Chukotka, because they are consumed by local people. But as far as I know, that polar bear is investigated by Moscow Institute named by Severtsov. They do this research together with National Park Russian Arctic, and their expeditions usually start in Arkhangelsk. So actually we know each other very well and cooperate.
Thank you.
Thank you. There is a question in the chat about marine renewable energy, and that I guess is a question for Pavel.
Yes, thank you very much for this question. It is also very important question. I would say that not marine, but offshore. And here we can also think about the offshore windmills and producing the energy offshore. The main problem is that we have a very, very high potential, but we do not have that high consumption, and we need to transmit the electrical energy to the very, very long distances. And this is the question of the efficiency now. And also efficient accumulators, energy storage in the Arctic region is also of a huge interest in the future scientific direction of the energy production. But nevertheless, of course, the underwater sea cables and the installing of the offshore wind generators is of great potential and should be considered for the future implementation in the Russian Arctic and also in the Arctic region of the whole world.
Thank you. Linked to that, I was wondering, because you hadn't shown things offshore, I was wondering what's the role of CIs in challenging these investments?
Yes, and of course, if we talk about the economical feasibility and also the economical balance of the installing this and producing the this installation is also a big question.
Hi, you're back.
Yes.
we lost you for 15 seconds or so.
And yes, I was talking that the economical feasibility and also reaching the balance in the economical efficiency is also of case to be investigated, because also the Arctic region is there harsh and severe, and also the ice conditions to implement all this installation is also of great potential. And also the service maintenance is also a huge challenge and dilemma for now to implement the energy offshore and efficient technologies in the Arctic zone.
Thank you. I had actually I had one more question. If no one else wants to ask a question, my question is about the Paris Agreement, and of course it's great to see renewable energy research going on in the Arctic, in the Russian Arctic, but of course the Russian Arctic is the source of a lot of economic wealth to Russia through hydrocarbons. And I was wondering if there is any, there is obviously a tension, but in terms of conceptual tension, but I was wondering if there is any talk about the role of the Arctic resource extractions in going against the Paris Agreement, and how is that kind of negotiated?
Yes, can I try to answer your question? Of course, the Russian Arctic is of great interest because it has a reserve of oil and gas, and also the using the hydrocarbons during the combustion and COX transborder transmission is also of great interest, and also the environmental safety that is considered, and also the ecological safety is also of great interest. And we are trying to do a lot of research also dealing with oil spills and also transborder black carbon transition. And it is also of great interest to be investigated by us, and it is a sphere of the university research also in this question. And of course, we are looking into the Paris Agreement, and we are trying to Russia is not in the Paris Agreement, but we are trying to follow the criteria, and also trying to decrease the COX, NOx emissions, and trying to also to decrease the ashes from the power stations, and to fully involve the renewable energy sources, and to remove the fossil fuels with renewables. Yes,
thank you.
Yes, please.
Well, if there is no more questions, I will have one last question. Marina especially was offering an overview of the University of the Arctic activities and how NarFU was involved in them, and in a way all the international cooperation that could stem from that. I had a couple of questions. One is with regards to Western Europe, and in particular the UK. What would be, in your view, windows of opportunity for cooperation? And the other one, which is very concrete, but of course I am familiar with the Arctic Floating University, and if you could briefly just explain to all of us what it consists of, and what are their objectives.
I think I can ask the first question about the University of the Arctic, and Alexander can tell a bit about Arctic Floating University. Yes, University of the Arctic is a unique platform. I mentioned that today we have 200 plus, to be concrete, 212 universities and research centers from 8 Arctic countries and 14 non-Arctic countries. So this is a great network, the biggest one in the area of education and research. And of course, this is it's about opportunities for researchers, for institutional leads, for students, for faculty staff to cooperate. Everyone can find a lot through cooperation in Arctic. Institutional leads, for instance, can use the network for institutions' capacity building, for marketing, recruitment of students, for branding of universities. Faculty staff can cooperate through thematic networks. Students participate in exchange programs. Arctic has a specific program which is called North to North. And with regard to members from different regions, when we had 150 institutions, we have 50 from North America, 50 from Scandinavia, and 50 from Russia. But the number is changing, of course, and we receive more and more applications every year from non-Arctic members. And we have a good representation from European institutions. I mean, from Germany, we have institutes from France, from UK. Right now, we have 6 universities from the United Kingdom. I know that another one applied for membership this year. And of course, this is a great opportunity for cooperation. And it's also possible to cooperate through thematic networks, not being a member of University of the Arctic. We can have non-Arctic members, and they can just participate in different activities. I mean, educational activities, research projects, and so on. And I would like also to mention, unfortunately, I didn't have time in my presentation to mention one project that we implemented a couple of years ago within Russia-UK Year of Science. The project was about development a network of researchers, Arctic scholars between UK and Russia. And we run 2 workshops in the UK and 2 workshops in Russia. And it was a meeting place for scholars, for researchers to discuss potential areas of collaboration. So it was quite successful. And as far as I remember, totally about 100 researchers from UK and from Russia met during seminars and conferences, and some of them started cooperation after the project implementation. And maybe Alexandre can add about the Arctic Floating University.
Thank you.
Yes, okay, just I'll show. So the Arctic Floating University is the thing actually we really willing to involve Mark, but the pandemic unfortunately doesn't let us to do it. So very brief, the Arctic Floating University is a research and educational expedition which is organized annually by our university on the vessel which is called Professor Molchanov in the Arctic. We have started this project in 2012, and since that time we have organized 12 expeditions. You can see on the map at the presentation the major routes. They're connected with the Franz Josef Land, with Spitsbergen, with Novaya Zemlya, the high latitude Arctic, and the main idea is first to give an opportunity to the researchers of different fields and disciplines to hold their research in the Arctic. And the second idea is to give students an opportunity to have a practical work and to study how to work with the equipment, how to take the samples, etc. So you can see on the slide the major fields for study. They're connected with both marine and terrestrial research. The educational program as well is conducted by the researchers who is involved in the expedition. So they both are reading, delivering lectures and working with the projects of students on board. And at the same time, they lead the practical works at the field stage, either terrestrial or the marine works. We have quite a good experience of having international participants also from UK, and would be really happy if the next year we'll have an opportunity to have you on board with us in the expedition. Please follow the news at the NarFU website. We have a Facebook and Instagram profile, so keep on following.
Thank you very much. It's definitely a dream expedition, so fingers crossed. But beyond the personal involvement, it's a great idea to foster international education and cooperation in the Arctic with hands-on experience. So I thought it was worth discussing. Well, to all of you who arrived here, I wanted to thank you. It's been a bumpy seminar due to internet connection. We started with over 30 people, and you are the brave ones, the ones who stayed. So thank you very much for that. And as I said at the beginning, I wanted to thank the colleagues from NarFU for giving the seminar. This has been recorded and will be available in our YouTube channel. I will let you know once that's up there, so that you can also access and use it. And this is the first of our series of seminars, which, as I said before, will continue next week with a talk on the UK-Russian part of APEX. So with that, thank you very much, and see you in coming seminars.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Cheers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.